What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Showdown breakdown. Where my turds at? We've got the Titans home, taking on the 49ers. Thursday night football. I got the goats with me. We'll talk about all of it. We'll break it down. We'll win some money. Let's do this. All right, Showdown breakdown. My name is Kevin Allen, a.k.a. the Geek from DFS Army. And I've got my crew with me, the triumvirate, including special guest Cash Keg, a.k.a. the $100,000 man.
Woo. Can't get that milli like the old Bobbywow, man. I'm still trying.
Nope. There is only $1 million man. There's only one Bobby Duckett.
With all those 100Ks, though, he's got to be getting close.
He's hitting. At some point, the 100Ks are going to add up to $1 million.
He's hitting these every week at this point.
No,
it has happened a lot. and Keg's sporting a big 15K win on the last Showdown. I'm pretty.
I
sure.
needed that bird touchdown. That one they called out where he had it, and that I'm sorry, man. When he had his shin and it was in, they should have called that touchdown.
Bobby is still.
I would have had 500K first place if he would have caught that. Nobody had him ahead of me, so that was the one that I needed. So it was like. I didn't realize I needed it until afterwards, $1 million
touchdown.
Looking back at it, it's like, yep.
Those are the margins in these things.
Oh
guys.
yeah, big time.
It comes down to one play, one goal line run that was one play that a wide open. Well, who's that wide open guy when Jimmy Garoppolo missed like a wide open Nyuk in the end zone? No, it was Jeff Wilson a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Oh, I still remember. I still see it in my head. So comes down to one little play, and that's how the showdowns work, gentlemen. So we've got a pretty interesting one here today. But before we even break down the game, don't forget, if you're watching this, like and subscribe to the channel, of course. Subscribe. You can't just like, you got to subscribe, got to do all that good stuff. And then get signed up at DFS Army as a VIP so you can start smashing. This is the best time of year. I love it. I know, football's coming to an end. It's the best time. 2-game slates. We're destroying 2-game slates. Bobbywow taking one down the other day. Just about.
Close. Very close.
I almost took one down. It's my favorite kind of slate. I love it. The playoffs, the whole deal. So this is a great time of year for DFS. You can get a lot of leverage by making strategic fades, reading matchups, and really having the balls to attack it, like the DK Metcalf fade the other night because Jalen Ramsey was on him. Like, those type of things are going to smash. So we've got you covered. Get signed up at DFS Army right now. Go do it right now. I'll wait. Okay. All right. So we've got the Titans. We've got the 49ers. And the only interesting game notes here, the Titans are getting back Hurtleo Jones potentially in this one. And we might get A.J. Brown back. It looks like he will be back. And so we're going to get kind of the Titans with their crew back. And one interesting note about Hurtleo, they're not giving him a ton of touches. So if you take a look here at the snap count on the matchups chart, you can see even last week, Hurtleo only 33% of the snaps. So they're really limiting him.
You know why, though, Geek? Because he got Hurtleo again.
He's always hurt. What, you think he's not going to get Hurtleo this time? Like what? Some special going on?
I'm not here to say that.
Did he drink the holy eggnog? That's going to keep him, he always gets hurt. That's Hurtleo. You would think the Titans are trying to kind of save him maybe for the playoffs. Like, let's not play too much of him. We still have a chance of making the playoffs. They still think they're making the playoffs. Like they're in okay position. I'm not sure how to deal with the A.J. Brown situation, though. Keg, any insights on if A.J. Brown is going to get a lot of snaps? First game back in a while.
I mean, you would think if they won't have any chance to make the playoffs, they're not going to throw Julio out there a ton, and it's like they don't have anybody else. So you would assume that if they're going to have any chance at all, they need to try to win this game. So, I mean, if he's going to be out there, I don't know why you would just put him on a snap count. And if he is going to be out there so much, he's going to be targeted all those times. So,
yeah, I mean, but these guys come back from injury, and you just don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, A.J. Brown, kind of looked up to Julio, and I just kind of find it ironic and funny that, he seems to be hurt about as much as his idol and Julio, and it's hard to trust him, man. So it's
in fairness to Julio played like a nice 7-year career of not getting hurt all the time.
Oh no, he's a great wide receiver. I'm just saying, like
AJ Brown's just done the late years Julio since he started.
It's just the way it is, and it's so hard to trust him.
Classic Gen Zer.
Just glass.
But it's a classic Gen Zer because he's trying to be like Julio and be hurt all the time. But like Julio paid his dues to get there. The Gen Zer comes in, he just wants to do it from day one. It's like, bro, pay your dues. Then you can get hurt all the time. Gen Zer. Bobbywow doesn't even know what a Gen Zer is. He's looking at me like I'm crazy. It's like, what does that mean?
Get out of here.
You're an Xer. You're a millennial. You're not a Gen Z. All right. You're not a Gen Z. You're a millennial. Keg's a millennial. You guys are all millennials.
I'm not a millennial. Don't even.
I know.
If you think I'm a millennial,
kind of
reach across the dam.
So after, outside of the wide receiver pairing, I think Nick Westbrook-Akine is the guy that you would expect to be out there most of the time, more of the snaps. I don't know what's going on last week with Cody Hollister. Bobbywow, do you have any insight into Cody Hollister and his 70% snap count last week? What was that about?
I think primarily it was that Julio didn't play. So
right.
I think Julio got hurt like in the first couple drives.
Yeah,
and then it was no AJ, no Julio. And so you had Westbrook-Akine filling in, and then Hollister was like that guy that stepped up in Julio's absence.
There we go. All right. At running back for the Titans, I think that Donta Foreman has solidified his role at this point as sort of the guy who gets most of the carries, the first and second down carries. And then you've got Dontrell Hilliard and Jeremy McNichols mixing in a little bit. It's kind of a weird triple-headed beast, but it does look like Hilliard got the majority of the passing game work last week for whatever that's worth. I think it's pretty gross beyond. I think Foreman is very playable in particular game flow situations where probably Hilliard would be my second choice, with McNichols kind of being third on the list.
Yep, I would agree.
Yeah. Just based on the snap count and the fact that I think if they're behind, it's going to be Hilliard getting the passing game work. And if they're playing from ahead, which is very possible here tonight with the Titans, then Donta Foreman will be the guy getting more of the work. Finally, at tight end for the Titans, we've got the triumvirate of Ferkser, Swaim, and Michael Pruitt. I would be willing to bet real money that one of these three turd tight ends will be in the nuts lineup tonight.
I said that in my notes.
Oh, did you? Nice.
Yeah.
Of course. You know it's going to happen. The question is which of those three. I think Swaim is out there the most, so he's the most likely to be the guy. But it could be any one of them. Any preference, Bobbywow?
It's crazy, man, because I would agree. I think Swaim is the most likely to put up fantasy points. But guess which one of those tight ends has the most touchdowns on the season?
It would not shock me if it was Michael Pruitt.
Michael Pruitt has the most touchdowns this season. So I like Ferkser. I wrote it on my notes. I was so high on him in best ball. It's so embarrassing. I thought he was going to be good, and he just hasn't been. So I think that's a general consensus. I think he's going to be over-owned. So I'll probably be taking most of my shots on Swaim and Pruitt, but they throw to Ferkser too.
They do. Any thoughts on the tight end situation, Keg, or I don't think you can really.
No, it's just one of those things where, especially like if you're playing FanDuel where they're all similar prices, you just make a rule only one in a lineup, because it's not like two of them are going to smash. You're going to get one touchdown, and one of them is going to be probably, like you said, in the nuts. So this is where, like, I don't like to make a lot of rules, but to me, when you have this situation where they're all similarly priced, the volume's not going to be there, but if one gets a touchdown, he's probably going to be in the nuts. And I don't want to put all three of them in a lineup where I'd rather have a kicker in him or something like that, where I think that's more optimal than running two of these tight ends. So that'd be my take on it.
Little demonstration on screen, stacked between 0 and 1 of Ferkser, Swaim, and Pruitt. That doesn't mean it's going to force one. That's a very important distinction. What this means is no more than one of these three players in any lineup. I use this rule a lot for my showdowns. I use these type of rules for a lot of different positions. So
they're a must for the turds, man.
Like, yeah, you gotta
you have to have them for the turds, because especially if you're boosting them a little bit, hoping that one of them's going to get in the box and you're projecting them to get that touchdown. Well, if you do that on all three of them, you're going to get them in multiple lineups, and you don't want that. So if you're projecting one of them to get a touchdown, well, then he's going to get at least 6 points. So if you want to give them all 6 and then limit it to 1, that's a way that you can limit it around.
Yeah. And all right, so let's jump back over to the matchup sheet. We'll swap over to the 49ers. And both quarterbacks, by the way, we'll have to address this, but both quarterbacks are interesting. I don't love either quarterback. Generally, I don't play either of these quarterbacks on main slates. So it's going to be interesting to consider how our approach will be on these showdowns for both Garoppolo and Tannehill. You know, they could get there, but neither is a guy I ever play on a main slate. So I think that's just worth noting.
Yeah.
Last week, Jeff Wilson Jr. really popped off. Almost 70% of the rushes, with Debo Samuel kind of mixing in, and a little use check, who's not on the list up here, but is always in play whenever, you know, the 49ers feel like they don't have their main running backs out there. So Jeff Wilson Jr., though, I think what's going on with him, since taking him a few games to get his sea legs under him, he got the injury, had the knee issues, came back maybe a little sooner than maybe he could have or should have. And you saw it in the first few games he played. The guy's explosiveness wasn't there, but I think he's gotten a little better. And certainly he showed a big game last week. After him, you've got JaMychal Hasty just kind of mixing in for some breather snaps and a couple of targets. I don't know what the salary is. How's JaMychal Hasty's salary, Bobbywow?
It's low, but I put this in the notes too. He had a pretty costly fumble last week. So it wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers primarily ran out Wilson and Debo as their backs.
Yeah, with a little use check mixed in, because use check is another guy that wins tournaments for people. So beyond that, with Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, it's been pretty weird with Debo Samuel lately because they're running him so much. But he does score a lot of fantasy points, but he's not getting the number of targets that we saw him getting, earlier the season, where it was 8 to 12 targets every game, especially when they hated Brandon Ayuk and Kittle was out. It was just like the Debo Samuel show.
Here's what's crazy about that, though. This surprised me a lot. Debo has a touchdown rushing in each of his last 5 games, including one with 2 rushing touchdowns.
And he's averaging 50 rushing yards over those 5 games as well.
That's what I'm saying. He's still scoring well because he's doing great as a running back. Although not last week.
He scored.
He scored, but he didn't give you a worthy of his salary level performance. But he keeps scoring. Sure. Now, interestingly, Jawan Jennings, so all of a sudden got a target explosion last week on just 43% of the carry of the snaps. Is he a viable? I'm sure he's definitely a viable turd, but how much do you guys like Jawan Jennings here as a pay down option?
I don't like it. It's $5K.
It's not that cheap, is he? Okay.
No, how much is he?
You're right. No, Keg's right. He's $5K.
He's $5K. That's what I thought. So I was like, I didn't like his price at all. I'd rather take one of those cheap tight ends on Tennessee than that. I was like, if he was their price, like $3K, I'd have a little interest, but $5K, man, like that's pushing a little bit. I think the game script would have to be there for him. And I think with having just their issues at running back, when Samuel kind of taking more of the rush duty, it's like, it's just so concentrated right now with a team that usually doesn't do it. And if they do get up, they're just going to run the ball. So
I will say, matchups wise, that you really want to target pass catchers against the Titans. They're very good against the run. They're actually ranked number 1 overall in fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. So if the Titans are able to do what they've done all year, which is limit running back scoring opportunities, then these pass catchers who we don't normally love from the 49ers might have a little more viability.
But I think what they're going to do is just get creative to get Debo the ball. Like, you might just be running it, but get him in those bubble screens and quick slants. And, as they're like an extension of the running game where it's like, okay, we're not going to run up the box because they're, that's where their strong suit is. But, you throw it out there doing their, jet sweep or whatever they're going to do to give him the ball. It's like, it's a running play, but it's like, it's really not just getting that stud with the ball and letting them just cause havoc. So
there we go.
Yeah.
And obviously the big piece, the guy who's been smashing week after week after week, is George Kittle. The Titans also rank fairly well. I don't really care about rankings against tight ends or anything like that. But the Titans do rank fairly well against tight end position. Antoine is naming linebackers that will and safeties that will be, covering Kittle. I don't think any safety or linebacker is good enough to really stop George Kittle. George Kittle's better than those guys. But, it's just a question of if they choose to throw to him or not. And I do think that there's a good chance San Francisco will not be playing from ahead in this game, to where we could get that game flow again, where the 49ers throw more than they normally do or want to, especially being the way the matchup is. Again, I don't care about matchups. 49ers, the way they run the football, is better than a good defense against the run generally. But, George Kittle, it's between him and Debo for the studs on this team, with Ayuk and kind of Jennings mixed in as kind of like turdly pass catchers. It's kind of the way I think we have to look at it. All right, so let's get into the cheat sheet, Bobbywow.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's start on DraftKings with the captain position, and you've got Debo Samuel. That's his by as one of the top plays. George Kittle and Debo, 4-star plays. Let's see here. What can you say about Debo? He's a monster. He's getting running work. He's getting rushing work. He's getting passing. Is he your favorite between these two? Which one do you prefer, Bobbywow, or do you have a preference at all?
I think it's Debo Samuel if I were to pick one.
Just even for the pendulum swing, it looks like their ownership percentages are going to be the same.
Yeah, I mean the Debo, I think, clearly has a higher ceiling. He's getting rushing touchdowns. He's getting passing targets. He's the most involved player on offense, and it flows through him. So if I'm picking between those two guys, if I have to, it's Debo.
There we go. And Keg, do you have a preference between these two, and are these two your favorites?
I think what I do in a situation like this is I like them both, and like he said, Debo's got the higher ceiling. But on DraftKings, I probably will just have more Kittle, and on FanDuel, I have more Samuel at the MVP, just because I won a ton of them, and it just kind of lets me offset a little bit. And then Samuel gets in the box twice running the ball, then he's probably going to be the MVP, where most people will be playing those quarterbacks, which I don't really like on both sides as the captain or MVP. The slate, I think it's going to be one of those guys. But yeah, that's how I'm going to approach it.
Matchup wise, the matchup favors Debo for sure.
Right.
Again, the Titans are pretty good against tight ends and running backs, and they're particularly bad against wide receivers. So the matchup definitely favors Debo if we needed to make a choice. Cutie Pebbles, do we think Tannehill will throw for more than 200 with Brown? I say yes.
I do got a Tannehill prop I like.
Yeah, I think yes. I do think that
I like his rushing prop.
What's the prop on Tannehill that you like?
I like the over. It's actually over 14.5 rushing yards. San Francisco's given up just under 6 yards rush to the quarterback, and they're ranked 30th against the quarterback in rushing. So you can get it over on FanDuel at minus 122, and it's already at 16.5 over at BetMGM. So FanDuel, if you're going to be betting it, that's where you get it.
I like that prop. I also like I like the Titans getting 3, and I also like.
And he's been sneaking it in a ton, man. He likes to do his little Air Jordan flip in the end zone, man. It's like it seems like every week now he's been sneaking that damn ball in when they get down there.
Yeah, Tannehill will run him in. He's very good. Yep. He did a lot of fantasy points damage last season rushing for touchdowns. Yep. The team has been weird this year. The team has been off a little bit this year. On that note, do you have Tannehill? So, Bobbywow, you've got Jimmy G and Tannehill labeled just 2 stars. Not in love with them. I kind of like Tannehill a little more than Jimmy G. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I told you before this podcast that I'm building a lot of lineups with 0 quarterbacks, not just in captain, but just 0 quarterbacks all around. I think these two teams like running the football. That's their identity, especially the Titans, even without Henry. So I think, having AJ Brown back is a plus for Tannehill, but he has absolutely stunk. He's been so unbelievably bad the last forever, really, this season. So I like being way underweight on those two guys and getting as much exposure to the wide receivers and tight ends and running backs as I can.
There you go. I'm for that. And I do think you got to mix in some, I mean, I actually, let me look through here. So you got Tannehill, AJ Brown. Sure. Why not? I don't even think I can stomach a Julio Jones captain. But Keg, are you on this? Julio Jones a captain?
I mean, it's one of those things, you know me, I like taking stands on things, like probably more aggressive than I should, but it's like one of those things where it's like, no, thank you. Like I think you'll be out there when they need to get a tough yard or a tough first down or something though. But it's not like I'm worried, too worried about him busting one for 80 yards. If it happens, it happens. You just kind of, well, it sucks this week, or I just don't see the need to do it.
Yeah, I think I actually like Julio better with AJ Brown out there and all of this, but the issue is they're not running him out 100% of the snaps or 80 or 60. They're bringing him in and out, which means either they think he's too fragile to play a full game or he's actually hurt and they're not admitting it. Either way, there's some real question marks about what the hell's going on with Hurt Leo. And the last thing I want to do is put my money on that. I don't want and he's not low owned enough. It doesn't, the ownership hasn't gone down enough. So to make it interesting for me, we are going to need some turds though. Jeff Wilson Jr. as a captain, Keg?
Yeah, I think just at his price, I don't love it, but just because he's so cheap, it was like if he'd be $2K more, I would be like, no. But when he's 5,200 on DraftKings, it's really hard to be like, because then it lets you get a Kittle. You can play all three of those, skill guys in the same lineup with him at captain and still have a decent lineup. So I'll have a little bit of him. There we go.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the non-captain eligible type of players. And again, I mean, we already talked about the tight ends. I like the tight ends a lot more on FanDuel than DraftKings, to be clear, because we've seen like a Jeff Swaim at 3,200 can catch a touchdown and not be in the nuts very easily. He's priced very close to kickers, and that the kicker is usually going to score more than 7. And the one catch touchdown from a tight end is a 7-point, maybe 7.5-point play, maybe an 8-pointer if it's a yard out, but it's not enough if it's 10 out. But
and it wouldn't shock me if this would be a kicker game either, like getting it down in the red, and then like it wouldn't at all.
Could be a lot of kicks in this
game.
These
guys get 10 or 12 points apiece, even like it really wouldn't. And this game just kind of, I don't know, kind of feels like it.
Usually when the underdog wins, and if I'm playing for the Titans to win the game, the more likely scenario would be, and the best pairing on the sports book, if you could do a same game parlay, would be Titans and the under. Usually when the underdog is winning, it's a lower scoring game in general. So yeah, it could be a kicker fest. We saw it with the Saints the other day. It was just an ugly, disgusting game, and they win with 3 field goals, field goal, kicker, defense, both in the nuts.
And they're never owned high enough, and especially on DraftKings, because it's so hard to project the kicker at their price, because the range of outcomes is so damn high. It's like, yeah, generally they'll project between 6 and 8 points, but that doesn't mean they can easily go out there and put up, 12 to 15. Like it's not, especially hit a couple of those 50-yarders, man. They add up pretty quick. So
yeah, I don't think people realize when you're a West Coast team and it's a Thursday game and you got to fly all the way to Tennessee and everybody's got COVID all over the place and your family's all crazy and you got shit going on, it's really hard to prep for a game on such a short turnaround. And they got to waste the whole day Wednesday on an airplane. So whereas the Titans are home, hanging out, practicing, getting ready for a game, the 49ers had no time to get ready for anything. They're still watching games Monday night and Tuesday night. They're like, oh, shit, we got to go to work Wednesday. Nope, we're flying out to Tennessee. It's a tough spot to fly cross country, short week, no practice, no prep, going up against the team who you don't know. We never played the Titans before. We don't know what they're up to. So it's not an easy situation for the 49ers here. it's a much better spot for the Titans because they're home, they're in their routine, and they had an extra day of practice and preparation. They could actually prepare for this opponent a little bit, whereas the 49ers don't have no prep. They're not ready for this. Jeff Wilson Jr., 5,200. Yeah, great flex play. Kicker, Robbie Gould, Randy Bullock. And then the turd zone. So, any turds down here, I'll throw it to both of you guys here. Turd zone. I'll start with you, Bobby. You put the list together.
Yeah, it's tough for me to play any of these guys down here. I think Michael Pruitt is probably the cheapest. I'm going
800.
Anything below him is really, really sketchy. So Pruitt's probably my favorite turd if I had to pick one under 1K.
Could it be possible that Cody Hollister plays a lot of snaps again?
I'm with Bobby. I'm not going under Pruitt. I think
it's too much, right?
Yeah,
because Brown is in that spot too.
I think you're just burning those lineups.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
I mean, look, I just to play devil's advocate, we saw Chris Godwin and Mike Evans go out in the first quarter last game. Is it possible?
That's what you need, I think. Yeah,
but that's what you would need.
Hurt and something like that, which is possible for sure. But
I don't play lineups for that.
If you're playing that, then you better be fading those guys when you're building those lineups. So if you want to do that's when I like doing batches. Do a batch where you're playing those guys and you're fading the guys that would have to get hurt, because if you don't do it that way, you're probably going to get them with some of those and you're burning those lineups. So
I'm just going to, same idea, same rule. If you did that, not that I'm going to play Hollister, but Hollister, let's say Julio. If you wanted to do something like that, it would be 0 and 1. Make sure you don't get both of those guys in the same lineup. Something like that could work. So that's the turd zone. I'm thinking maybe Kyle Juszczyk. God, he always seems to score a touchdown.
That dude as a player, though, man. He's such. I mean, I wish we had more of those guys in the league. They're so
everybody
fun.
loves Juszczyk.
They're so fun. They do everything, and I mean, he could get one in the end zone. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Like, they use him all over the place.
He scored last week.
Yeah, it's just you never know. Like I like that dude. Like, you never know.
One guy at the very bottom, just to bring your attention to it, is silly. Okay, I never ever get cute with backup quarterbacks. Ever, never. If there was 1 week where I would not be embarrassed by you for playing a backup quarterback, it's Trey Lance for the 49ers this week.
Okay. All right.
I said in my notes, I'm not doing it. I'm not even going to do it still.
FanDuel only?
If there was ever a time,
or you could
probably.
I mean, because at FanDuel, it's like I can see it, because if he sneaks one in, or he could go in for a play and be like 4th and 1 and then break it for 60 yards for a touchdown. It would not surprise me at all for something like that.
So if there was a time, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
The time is this.
It's definitely the time to play Trey Lance. Look, if you're trying to win $1 million on FanDuel or DraftKings, and we talk about the odds of things happening, what are the odds that Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt in this game versus what will be the ownership of Trey Lance? So Trey Lance, virtually unowned, meaning sub 1% ownership, about half a percentage point. Whereas the odds of Jimmy G getting hurt, 10% in game.
Yeah, and I think Keg has a point too. He hasn't done it recently, but the 49ers aren't strangers to bringing him in for a gadget play or two, even near the end zone. So that increases it maybe to 12 or 15% even.
Well, he might get there anyway. Just by playing two gadget plays, like the Taysom Hill Saints role when Drew Brees was the quarterback, and all of a sudden it's not out of the realm of possibility that Trey Lance gets 2 Wildcat touchdowns in a single game.
Not at all.
It's not highly likely, but
not likely. But
give it half a percentage chance of happening. Like
1 price on FanDuel, though, man. I mean, it's like what you're playing those turd tight ends, and it's like you're hoping one of those catch a touchdown. That's no different than hoping he comes in and gets one.
Is he 6K on FanDuel?
I think he's 8K.
Is he 8K? Oh no. Okay. Well, then it's not as exciting.
8K. It's still good though. That's still good. 2 touchdowns. Even one
Oh, yeah,
touchdown
I'm
in
not
the
saying
game might be enough.
Yeah,
Might be worth 5%.
And by the way, I don't think I would do it with Jimmy Garoppolo in the same lineup. So I would absolutely have a rule.
That have to be a rule for that.
100%.
It's a rule.
And I mean, with how crazy these things are, I don't think it hurts to do, even on normal slates where you if maybe you have a quarterback that's known to be injury prone or whatnot. It doesn't hurt if you're running 150 to do something like a 5% where you make sure you have that rule, because we've seen it twice already this year where it happened and freaking you're just in the nuts, and then no one's catching you and you're only sharing with like 4 people.
Yep.
Well, if you play 50 slates, you only need that one, and it's paid for like the next 5 years of
it's really hard for people to internalize that something that might only happen once every 50 slates is something you should play for, because they're like, hey, I only play 50 slates a whole season. I'm going to play it all the time. Yes, that's how you win these. We talk about the backup running back every single one of these breakdowns, and every single time we get the same comments and trolls usually afterwards. Predicting injury. I'm not predicting injuries. I'm just saying, like, if you do this consistently, that the 3 times it happens all year, you will have done it, because it's just part of your process. Every time there's a reasonable backup running back, play the backup running back, because starting running backs get hurt. It's that simple, and that gives you more edge than anything else we can ever do.
Heck, it was so close to working in that 2-gamer the other day. Keg had such a good call.
Oh man, I was like, luck boxed into that one. He's gone, and then he came back out and toughed it out.
He came back out.
I was no,
because he even scored Patterson even scored a touchdown. It was this is perfect.
If he was in there and he stayed out, he definitely would. And he was like less than 2% owned. And
by the way, that's the difference between a showdown and a 2-gamer.
Yep.
In a showdown, nuts all day.
All day.
Touchdown, $200 player. Yep. In a 2-gamer, even the touchdown and the cheapness, none of it was enough. So it's really the contra. And by the way, guys, we have an exciting 2-gamer coming up on Saturday. I love the 2-gamers. I almost don't want main slates anymore. Bobbywow, you take over the main slates. I'm going to do the 2-gamers only.
I like the 2-gamers.
I'm with you, man. I'm right behind you.
I love it.
We all love it. But you know who loves 2-gamers more than anybody? My boy Hofbrau.
Oh my God.
That dude is everywhere. He is everywhere on the 2-game slates. You cannot do one without seeing my boy Hofbrau, second place, third place,
thing
first
with those
place.
Is you have to take stands on a few guys and go all in on 2 or 3 guys. That way you can rotate some of those guys in.
Yes.
That allows you to do it. And you cannot be like, well, I need to play here. Yeah. You need to play a little bit of everybody in those, but you got to be like, I'm all in on Goddard at tight end. Like, okay, that's my tight end. So I don't want anybody else. I can run 2 of them out there, maybe in the flex, but like those are things you have to do in those two game slates.
Or do a strategic fade on a player that's going to be 60, 70.
Oh, either way. Yep.
Works just the same.
Works just the same.
I actually like the strategic fade almost better than the all-in, because, hey, if everybody's going to play DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf is going to be covered by Jalen Ramsey. Sorry, Keg. He was shadowed.
So he still scored like 11.
I know he's still going to score.
He was in the freaking nuts.
I know
he's the reason I didn't win.
Yeah.
He's the reason I didn't win. I had VJ over DK.
I mean, that was unfortunate. But, like, you can do a strategic fade. And you're right, though. This the problem with fading a DK is he's going to get peppered targets, and it's a bad matchup. And every single slate, this would be terrible. But in a 2-game slate, that could still win, even though Ramsey knocked down 4 potential touchdowns and whatever. Yeah, by the way, DK this week,
it's just the volume. But I agree, it's one of the two. It's like you have to take those stands. Like I knew I was dead because the stand that I took with Gibson is like It is what it is, man. It's like it's no different in Showdown. They're just very similar.
Or by the way, this other one, the full strategic fade of Darrell Henderson, for example, knowing that he was going to be splitting. The point is the 2-gamers are really exciting.
They're way more fun. I like.
Yeah, love that.
Remember 3 or 4 years ago before we had Showdowns, those were the big paydays. It was the 2-gamers that were up top, and it was so great. And it was like those 2-day sweats, where the Sunday, Monday night.
I loved it. And I had a show. I had a song. Prime time.
So
I looked up primetime rap, and I found a Russian Czechoslovakian rap song where the guy was just going off in like Czechoslovakian prime time, and it kept yelling prime time. The best theme song ever for one of my breakdowns. Loved it. He's like the Proshka prime time. I was like, yeah, baby, prime time. Let's do this.
They need it. They need to bring him back where there's decent prize pools on them, man.
All right, so let's make a lineup on DraftKings before we go over to FanDuel. Little lineup build here. I don't think it's gonna be that easy. I have not tried to even build a single lineup. So let's start with the captain play that we can all stomach.
If I'm playing cash, my captain play is Jeff Wilson Jr.
Yep, same.
Okay. You know what?
That ain't even close to me.
You pay down at captain, Jay Wizzles.
Yep.
Okay.
It allows you just to get up everything else you need to.
All right, so we got 8,400 left. We're still gonna have to play some cheapies. Are we playing a kicker? Sammy Gould, Robbie Gould.
I love Robbie Gould. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're
I don't really want to venture in the turd zone.
Not for cash.
Kind of a lineup.
You don't have to with Wilson up there. That's what's great about him.
So let's see where we get next. Are we playing the running back from the opposition? Donta Foreman?
I
like Foreman. Not as much on DraftKings, but I like him.
I mean, look how much average salary do you have left there.
Look at this, though. 22 carries, 3 targets.
I want to see where I'm at after throwing in like
Debo
and like a Tannehill or something like that, and then kind of seeing where you're at with it, you know?
No George?
Well, I'm just saying, like if you threw in.
Well, here's Debo. We can get AJ Brown in the lineup, and no, it doesn't leave anything. So AJ Brown's going to be tough. So if we play Debo and then one more of these studs, is it George Kittle, Garoppolo, Tannehill? Let's say Tannehill. Then you got 80. Ooh, just missed on Brown.
That's where I would throw Kittle over Foreman.
Yeah,
I would just go full. And then you got what, 5K left?
Yeah, and now you're in the Jawan Jennings, Randy Bullock zone for cash.
Eek. Yeah, it's rough. I'd probably pick another kicker if I was doing that.
Yeah.
Well, in a cash approach, Tannehill, Debo, Kittle, Robbie Gould, Wilson, and
Bullock. That's the way I'd probably roll if I was gonna go the 2 stud San Francisco guys.
Doug, I think the reason we like Wilson in cash is just he's locked into getting some touches. He's cheap enough that you can make a lineup that looks like this with both Kittle and Samuel and Tannehill all in the same lineup. That's a lot of goodness.
And you know where all the production for San Francisco is going. So if like you can lock those dudes in, you know where all the touches are going. It kind of locks that, floor in for those guys.
I think it's an interesting enough approach. I'm not even going to smash. Normally I put the lineup in. I will not play this in the showdown, in the play action as 2 kickers. No bueno for any sort of actual tournament. Not doing it, but I don't mind it for cash.
Watch that be the winning lineup.
What's that?
I said watch that be the winning lineup now.
Can you imagine?
It's $3. Just put it in. You crazy,
man? It ain't 150.
Yeah, I'm not fucking missing out on $1 million out of principle. Fuck it. It's in. Put it in. How safe is AJ Brown in cash?
If I'm playing a Tennessee wide receiver, it's him, but I wouldn't necessarily call him safe.
I can't do them in cash. Tournaments for sure. But
I don't. It depends how you can afford it. I don't know. I think you could play AJ Brown. He's going to be out there, and with Hurtleo gimping around, they're going to throw to Brown, but he probably only gets 6 or 7 targets. He better catch
just
them.
Debo and Kittle, they're going to get double-digit either touches or targets each. And I feel way more comfortable about that than hoping that AJ gets there. I'd rather just have more of him in tournaments if you like that approach. It just feels way safer. Like
FanDuel is really interesting on the slate because at MVP, we normally like our running backs and our quarterbacks, but I think Debo Samuel is probably the best captain of them all. Maybe is that possible? A wide receiver / hybrid running back? Is this the best guy? Tannehill?
I think Debo is. I hate to say it because it's so weird on FanDuel, but he still has the highest ceiling even on FanDuel. So I think he's the best. Yeah.
Salaries are down a little bit on this slate compared to usual. No 17K player. It's going to be interesting to see how these Tetris together. But
what do you
let's talk
think, Keg?
about-
I'm interested because it sounded like Keg was about to say something about Debo.
No, I think what you're going to see a lot of people do is probably play Tannehill or Jimmy G on cash because of the same price. And so I love Debo there, and I think you can get leverage even in cash games by just going Debo. But I think because they're so similarly priced and people are conditioned to play, quarterbacks in your MVP slot, that it's going to be probably one of them that they'll throw up there. So this is where, like in 2021, if you want to be a little bit different and throw something like that, which probably has, decent floor with more upside, you can just crush everybody. So I like it.
After Debo, MVP plays on FanDuel.
I love Deonta Foreman. I think he's the best leverage play on the slate for FanDuel in terms of MVP. He runs 2 touchdowns in. He's your MVP at 6% owned.
No one will own him. 6%. Great leverage. Keg, thoughts on that? And Jay Wizzles?
No, I mean, it's definitely a leverage play because that's what you're hoping him to get. If he gets 2 touchdowns and then, your other guys are getting spread out where Debo gets 1, Kittle gets 1, Wilson gets 1, then he could easily, that's what you're hoping for, that they're just spread out on the San Francisco side and against on the Tennessee side to him.
Justin, the best way to get ownerships on DraftKings to go to DFSarmy.com. Click on where is it? Click right over here on free offer or sign up or something. Get signed up, and then you get all the ownerships for every slate, every sport, DraftKings, FanDuel, NFL, NBA, NASCAR, PGA, college football, college basketball, college baseball, lacrosse, soccer.
Let's calm down here. Let's
curling. We got a curling crew.
Esports, though, for real.
Up north. You don't play curling?
Curling.
Got it all. Esports.
Little bocce ball.
Legends, CSGO. Canadian Sports Gaming Oncology Association, CSGO.
How awesome would curling be, man? That'd be awesome. I would take the time to try to build a projection model if curling was in, because that's right up my alley, man.
Fight On goes to curling every Tuesday and Wednesday night.
Yeah, he would go to curling
He curls every Tuesday and Wednesday.
Doesn't surprise me.
It's out there he does the sweeping.
Yeah, he's a sweeper.
Disc golf, I love it.
I told my wife I wanted to do curling after Ryan was doing the curling, right? And so I was like, "Can I go curling?" She goes, "I got some curling for you to do." She handed me a broom to sweep the floor, motherfucker.
Oh,
I was like, "Oh shit!"
Open yourself up
anything.
for that one.
I knew I was screwed. When she busted out the broom, she's like, "Oh, you can curl right here in the house."
Got him.
I turned. I listen. I got one. As soon as she left the room, I said, "Okay, of course." But then as soon as she left the room, I turned on the little robot thing to sweep that shit. I didn't do it. She doesn't know.
No.
She has no idea. All right. So where were we? Jeff Wilson Jr., Donta Foreman. I like Ryan Tannehill a little bit for exactly what you guys were saying before. He loves to run in the touchdowns. So Ryan Tannehill, Vulture. I don't like Jimmy G.
No, if I was going to pick a quarterback for cash games, it's Tannehill over Jimmy G easily for me.
Yeah, I agree as well. Even though, like we said, it's interesting because matchup wise, it's a really interesting matchup where Titans are very good against the run.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he couldn't get there for sure. I think a lot of people will go Jimmy G because he's the cheapest out of all of them. So I think if you're trying to build a very, the most optimal cash build, people run Jimmy G in there as the captain. If you're looking for the safest captain that everyone will probably run, it's him. I'm sorry, MVP.
Absolutely.
This is a little scary, but I think I'm going to brute fade Jimmy G and Ryan Tannehill as MVP on FanDuel.
Oh, snap. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? If you brute force fade both of these quarterbacks, you are going to be so high and so much leveraged on every other one of these guys that, it gives you a real chance of having enough leverage with a Debo to make a difference, or with a Kittle, or with, your favorite Donta Foreman. I like the Donta Foreman call. I'm playing this game. If I have to play it a certain way for tonight, I'm playing it as if the feel, when you look at the Sharp app, for example, and you look at the money and the total, the public is very, very heavily on San Francisco. And I think the public is wrong. I think the sharp money should and is on the let me get some numbers out here. Sorry for looking at a phone, but yeah, you could see here the public tickets are 65% on San Francisco tonight, but the money is much more concentrated at 55% on the Titans, meaning the sharper players are betting the Titans. What does that all mean in the context of this game? I already talked about it. San Francisco traveling, short week, no time to prep for the game, COVID all over the place. Who the hell knows what's going on? Meanwhile, the Titans are at home. They're prepping for a game. They're getting A.J. Brown back. Their offense looks a little better than it has. And they've got an elite run defense, which matches up very nicely against what the 49ers do best, which is run the football. Again, 49ers also smashed the Rams via the run. So elite rush defense isn't enough to stop the 49ers, but it should slow them.
Bet the anytime touchdown, Tannehill, though, if you do that. It's
I like
320 on FanDuel.
What is it?
Plus 320.
Oh, I love that product.
And it's 3-1. No problem throwing that out there. He's got 6 touchdowns in the last 9 games. I mean,
smash that on over at Sharp Bets as well.
Yeah.
So, let's go to the turd zone here and see how we fit a lineup together with some of these elite players. And we already talked about the Bobbywow. Do I have to play any of these super turds? Obviously, we're going to give some Trey Lance love, 5%. Not like my boy here. I'm going to look for what he said. One of our guys was making a joke about 150 lineups with Lance, but you can play a couple, but lineups with Lance as silly for the millies. But any of the outside of these 3 tight ends, Michael Pruitt, got Ferkser. Usually the best one, Swaim, is the cheapest. It does not look like that's the case. $7K, so he's right down there. Okay. And then again, Westbrook Akine. Don't sleep on Westbrook Akine. He will be on the field the whole game, or for a good chunk of this game. Westbrook Akine, especially with Hurt Leo coming in and out, and A.J. Brown coming in rusty. But any of these other turds of interest down here, or is it all of them? Or am I playing 10% Jawan, 10% Akine, some Ferkser, you're kind of mixing in the turds like a soup, mix it all together.
Yeah, I think to Keg's point earlier about the taking stands, I think that's the whole benefit to only having 2 or 3 MVP choices, is then you can have exposure to all the turds and not only have them in like one lineup. I think get your condensed MVP list together, and then you can afford to rotate a couple more in. So that's what I'll be doing tonight.
100%. I run everything like it's just, and that's how you get, if one of those guys that's lone catches that touchdown, a lot of people might not have him because they're running 10 damn MVPs or captains, and they're not going to get the guy, running 10 lineups, with Kittle as captain instead of running 50 with him. And you're going to catch one of those lone guys, and you're only splitting with 6 guys instead of, 60 or whatever. So,
yeah. And here's maybe the most important thing. Look at these ownerships. Look at the projected ownerships on these turds. We're talking like less than 1% on some of these guys,
well,
including
these
like Chester Rogers.
I mean, Racy McMath, that's not even a real person, dude. That's a made-up name.
Okay. I'm talking like 5,500 and up. Like
but Racy
Cody
McMath
House,
is a real person.
0.3%. Michael Pruitt, 0.3%. I mean, these are guys that you get 5 to 8% ownership on with 2 or 3 MVPs. If one of them scores, you're going to take down the dang tournament.
Yeah.
These projections are very low.
It's just because if you go look at building builds, because we don't have a 17K guy and they're like cheap, you don't have to really use them if you don't want to. Like there's ways to build it where you don't have to have a touch. But what's great about it is if those mid-range fail and you're leaving so much on the salary on the table and you get a touchdown there, nobody's going to hand build that. I mean, look at that. Like you throw 3 of the guys in there and you had like I'm saying, even if you didn't play Foreman and he didn't get a touchdown, you have 9K left for two dudes. And one of them, there's so many ways to build it with the salary on FanDuel. And there's and you get like a turd and you've left so much salary on the table.
It is interesting to see how the overall slate comes together with no 17K player or no 16K player. So let me ask you a question. Should Samuel and Kittle, are they sort of working against each other? Does it make sense to have them both in the lineup together? I mean, I'm
fine with it because it's like that's where the production's most likely going to come from, especially if Wilson fails and they just can't run the ball with him and they're like, screw it, we're just going to do those bubble screens to Samuel as our extended running game, and he's the one that gets 80 yards on the ground and a tutty, and Kittle gets 10 receptions for 120 and a touchdown. It's like I don't think that they work against each other just because of how they use Samuel. If they weren't using Samuel in the run game, I would say yes, but because of how they're utilizing him, I would say no.
You get a little of that. I'm just trying to see if I can squeeze this grouping in a lineup together, and it doesn't look good. You got to play use check in it, which is not my favorite. I wouldn't mind getting to the 7K level and getting what is his name here, Jeff Swaim, in a lineup. Got to squeeze out.
Can I just see real quick, Geek? I know we're not advocating for it necessarily, but if you take Tannehill out and put someone else in up there, what does it leave you?
You could do whatever you want. If I played Jeff Wilson and didn't play Tannehill, now I don't have to play any turd at all. I'm up here either with Hurtleo or Ayuk,
right?
Or where's AJ Brown? Oh, he's up there. I kind of am interested in AJ Brown as well. So I'm a little interested in AJ Brown. So you could do, let's say, Wilson.
How many MVPs are you running, Bobby, tonight on FanDuel?
Right now, my list is 4. I'll probably be down to 3, but right now it's Jeff Wilson, Debo, Foreman, and then I can't remember the third. Jeff Wilson, Debo, Foreman, and someone else. That'll probably be my 3.
Because you're fading the QBs.
Yep.
And that's where you're taking your stand. I love it. Yep. Like that's what I'm usually 4 max on both DraftKings and FanDuel at the MVP slot. And then I like to be at 3 myself because I like to run them in batches. So I'll run, 50 of Kittle, 50 of Samuel, and then 50 of whoever the third, of Wilson, right? And that's more than likely if I feel like San Francisco's, all the production is going to go there. I like to do that. And then if they don't hit, well, you just roll the next one. But if they do, you're more than likely going to have the nut lineup when you do it that way because you can just make so many options. And it's like you win way more to me that way than running 10 captains out there where it's just so hard to hit that nut because there's going to be one lone turd in that lineup. And it's so hard to get him when you're only running 10 of this and 10 of that. So
totally agree.
Yeah, same here. It's always great if you could run standalone batches, but I don't do it because
it don't take that long.
It's more that I forgot who I played in the first. I can't control my exposures the way I want. I start to forget.
Well, when I do it, I don't even mess with my exposures. Like, cause I don't want 100% of everybody. And that's what I like about it. So if I'm running because I'm already 100%, say Debo at MVP, I don't want say 100% at Tannehill and all those. So I'll limit whatever they are in the flex. And I want that going across all 3 batches because it's like, it allows it. So it's worked real well for me doing it that way where it's like, because once you get your percentages set up and you want so much of each, then all you're doing is going in there and locking that one player and you're running 50 of each one and then you're just cutting and pasting them in. So it's really not too bad once you but you have to get those percentages down on your flex guys.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to do it. It's just you got to remember with each run to make sure you're getting your proper turd exposures across. Like I said, if you have a plan, which we do, for example, of making sure I get some Michael Pruitt, some Swaim, and some Ferkser, and I'm assuming, hey, 1 touchdown to one of those Titans tight ends is going to be all I need to help me win this tournament. It's like, all right, let me just make sure I have some settings in place to remember to do that, or else, you run it the third time, you already forgot about which turds you were trying to squeeze in there in the first place.
That's where I will run I'll even put some men on some of those turds to make sure I get a few of them in there. And then I'm set because okay, in each batch, I want those in there. My only reason I advocate this so much is because if you're running 150 with your rules, if Samuel is your highest projected guy and say Kittle was your lowest projected, he's going to have all the bullshit with him. And if he's the captain winner, he's pulling in all the bullshit with him, and he's not going to. You're probably not going to have the other nut pieces that you need with him, and that's like when I went back and looked at lineups when I did that, I'm like, God, he's got so much garbage with him. Why isn't Tony got this guy and this guy and this guy? And it's crazy when you look at it, when you pull them out and you're like, okay, I got the percentage of captain. Now let me look at the quality alignments that they're making, and it's pretty shocking.
I like it. I think it's the right way to do it, by the way.
It just does take a little more time. You're right.
It takes a little more time and a little being organized, remembering what file goes where. But hey, that's how we do it. All right, guys. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be it for this one. Yes, Chris, you can rewind. You can watch from the beginning. We already did DraftKings, but you could just watch, rewind, fast forward, whatever you got to do. Guys, we got 115, 120 people watching live right now. I'd appreciate if you guys could smash that like button, hit subscribe. We don't ask for money. We just ask for your love, appreciation, and undying loyalty. I don't think that's too much to ask from anybody. I think it's reasonable. So, and if you want to go and check out DFS Army and you're not already a subscriber, make sure you get over there and check it out. Do the free offer. There's all kinds of free ways you can get free months of this shit. If you're skeptical, you're like, I don't want to pay for advice. I don't want to pay for ownership projections. I don't care that Keg and Bobbywow work their asses off. I don't think anything you do is worth anything. I get it. That's fine. A lot of people don't want. Just do a free offer. It's free shit. You click on here. There's all these freebies where you sign up for any one of these sites over here and you get a month. You get a month. You get a month. You get a month. You put in $50 to Underdog. You get a month. Whatever you do, you get a month. You can get a whole year's worth
4 days of NFL games in 5 days. I mean, now is the best. Just jump in now. Why not?
Do a free month of DFS. We're not like, we don't point at the guy who's on the free month and go, hey, he's here on a free month. We're like, yo, let me teach you how to do this. We want you to stick around after the month. So we treat you nicer when you're on the free month. Check it out. Come on in. Enjoy. Bobbywow's working his ass off. Keg hasn't taken a vacation in 3 years.
Nope. Big NBA slate, 11 gamer, man. Woo. Full of COVID.
Dude, get in there. The NBA projections last night, the all-in on that one dude. Cam something, one of the Cams.
Cam Reddish, man.
What was the name?
Cam Reddish, man.
Yeah, Cam. Yeah, the all-in on Cam.
I can't believe he's only 55%
on freaking $4,500 Cam Reddish. Who goes off for 48 fantasy points. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, certainly not campaign, that's for sure.
No. The only thing Cam brings is pain when you roster him.
Oh, trust me, Keg and I know.
Yes.
Pruitt keeps it. You know what? Don't fight with Deezus. Let Deezus take the wheel sometime.
Right. Let Deezus take the wheel.
I don't know what optimizer he's using. If he's using the DFS Army one, though.
Pruitt.
There we go.
Gotta have a turd.
All right. Keg, you be quiet, Steve Lynn.
That's right. I do.
That's not how we do it at the Players Club at all. All right.
Maybe it's summer.
All right, guys. That's going to do it. Showdown breakdown. Where my turds at? Little programming note for we've got a 2-game slate on Saturday. We got the Players Club coming up. I don't know. Bobby, why you want to do with the 2-game breakdown tomorrow? How are we going to do it?
I'm all in, man. 'Tis the season. I want to be involved.
I love it.
I got busy Christmas. I'm in on. I'll come and join you guys tomorrow for it. We have no NBA tomorrow. There's no NBA. I'm in.
Oh yeah, even better. So we'll do a 2-game breakdown tomorrow. I don't know. I'm thinking the Players Club. I don't want to do it on Christmas Day. I think I almost want to do it tomorrow also, guys. I'm not sure what to do.
Maybe we combine them. I don't know.
Should we do Players Club tomorrow also and do the whole shit?
Why not? Knock it all out.
But then you're going to get all these COVID people, and I'm going to have to update it.
That's what's hard with anything. And people are asking me, like, well, what about a Christmas Day NBA pod? Yeah, but if you do it, half of it's irrelevant. The shelf life of NBA content right now is about 30 nanoseconds. Like, it changes so fast. It's like, it doesn't matter what you say. Like, you can spend all day long doing everything, and within 30 minutes, it's all trash.
That's why you need more than just the public pods. That's why you get signed up for the free month. You get the Discord with updates, the cheat sheets with updates, and you know what? You get to hang out with us on the pod too, COVID or not.
That's always fun.
I like it. I like it.
As long as you bring a Blue Moon as your NFT pass to get into the pod for the Players Club.
Let's do it. Let's do the 2-gamer tomorrow. I'm excited about it.
All right, we'll do the 2-gamer tomorrow, guys. We'll bring back the triumvirate again, Christmas Eve.
Early.
We'll do it early. I ain't trying to affect the 7 fishes dinner.
So sad, you guys.
I sent some gefilte fish over to Gargano.
Gefilte fish.
He's doing a 7 fishes. I wanted to have a little, little culture.
Like it.
expand on the culture. You can't just have seafood and fruited damari. You got to have some nasty Jewish fish. You fucking suffer. You got to suffer for your sins. That's what this holiday season is all about. Filter fish. So, thank you. I will stop now.
I'm agnostic about that comment, Geek.
All right. Good luck tonight, everybody. Let's make some lineups. Helmets up. Win some tournaments. I'll see you at the top. Later, everyone.